Hello and welcome to the Free Bin, the Toledo, Oregon Public Library's podcast. I'm Harrison.
I'm Cindy.
And who else do we have with us?
I don't know. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Lisa Watson, and I work down at the Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society, which is the railroad museum here in town.
We're going to learn all about railroads.
We are. We've had Lisa here as a guest before. So this is Model Trains 2 Electric Choo-Choo Glue.
Thank you for having me back.
Yes.
I'm very excited to be here.
We are excited to have you here. I'm going to lead us in with a few library announcements.
Yes.
Saturday, November 30th, 2024 is the Umbrella Parade, which starts at the top of Main Street, leads to the Christmas tree lighting, and then to the party at the Elks. Saturday, December 7th is the first meeting of our cookbook club at 4 p.m.
And we have a lot of people signed up, but there's still time to sign up for recipes to bring and share with everybody. And just a little, promotion of January, we are going to be using the Toledo Centennial Cookbook that we have in our library. And there may be, I hope, some special guests whose recipes are in there.
Nice.
They bring their recipe. So starting probably around the 9th of December, that cookbook will be out, and you can sign up for January.
Yeah. Friday the 13th and Saturday the 14th of December, we have 2 one-shot sessions of Holla D&D.
Yeah.
Beginner-friendly D&D sessions.
Yep. I think we only have 2 spots left in each one.
Ooh,
So
okay.
if you are thinking, I want to do that, call or come in and sign up, because we got 2 more players this morning, 2 yesterday, so we're filling up pretty quick.
But we do hope to have plenty of new game programming coming up soon as well. Saturday, December 14th, Family Holiday Art Workshop with Lawrence, Adrian, and Dina Kirk of the Oregon Coast Children's Theater and Center for the Arts.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. Saturday, December 21st at 1 p.m., celebrate the season with the library featuring the Slugs Ukulele Group. That's the Seashore Literacy Ukulele Group. Yeah. There will be a special story time and a visit from Santa.
The man coming to town.
Yeah, a lot going on.
It is. It'll be fun. And then January, we'll have a whole new set. Things happening.
So Lisa is going to tell us all about model railroading and the history thereof. And while she gets her notes in order, Cindy is going to pour us the beverage of the day. What do we have, Cindy?
Okay, so I was recommended this Faygo by my husband. He brought it home and said, you should do this on the podcast. It is Faygo, genuine Faygo, delicious. Actually, it's delicious.
Oh, geez.
Cotton candy. Now, I have to tell you, my granddaughter drinks this, and she has to hold her nose while she drinks it because she can't stand the smell, but she loves the taste. So,
Interesting.
we're going to have to see how this... Oh, it's a lovely shade of baby blue.
It
It's
is.
blue. But blue cotton candy is the best cotton candy.
Yeah.
I mean, so that bodes well.
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of... Oops. I don't eat a lot of cotton candy, but a little more. The thing, it brings back memories of the state fair and the local fair and, stickiness that lasted all day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Is it?
Have you ever had the cotton candy Faygo before?
No, I have never had this before.
It's a classic.
so this
never
is not
have.
new for you.
No, I have some experience with the Faygo cotton candy.
Oh, jeez.
I enjoy it. I'm looking
Okay,
forward
well, I think it smells good.
I think it smells good,
does.
too.
Smells like cotton
It
candy.
smells like cotton candy,
All right.
definitely. All right.
Okay, ready? Here we go.
Here we go.
Oof.
Whoa, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That is
Oh, man, it's like eating cotton candy in a liquid form.
making my teeth itch.
Makes if you have any, if you have a sweet tooth, it's going to give you a shock there.
I want to say it's almost like
Yeah.
Harrison likes it.
it's like melted cotton candy in like seltzer water.
Yeah.
It's got the bubbles, but it just like you dissolved a bunch of cotton candy in seltzer. Ooh.
You've seen that YouTube video of the raccoon with trying to wash the piece of cotton candy and having a little panic attack when it disappears. That's how this is made. Just a bunch of raccoons
washing cotton candy.
You know, I believe that.
Well, they are clean little hands. Raccoons have clean little hands. It tastes like melted cream cheese frosting. If you melted frosting down,
I could see that.
Yeah, it's got that taste. See, you got to try it again, don't you?
Yeah, now I'm going back.
And this raises a question. This being my second experience with the Faygo cotton candy, what is cotton candy supposed to taste like? What we all know the taste of cotton candy, but what exactly is it?
Sugar and blue dye number 65.
Actually, it's blue number 1.
Number 1.
It according to this, the biggest ingredient is carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, and some other potassium. Well, it's got your potassium in there. It's a preservative, and then citric acid. And the sucrose. So basically, it's sugar.
It's
just sugar spun with flavor. I don't know. There's some real. I saw on Facebook and at the state fair this year, they have sculpted cotton candy. So they are like if you have an anime figure, that they make them out of cotton candy. It's amazing. And I could barely. I had to spin it once, and I ended up with cotton candy from head to toe. And.
Seems like that's going to be covered in bees before long.
Yeah, you would think, right? But these are they're really something. So Google 3D cotton candy or something.
I wonder if that's going to be the new college degree from underwater basket weaving to 3D cotton candy sculpting.
It's probably a pretty high skill level,
right?
Underwater cotton candy sculpting.
There we go.
Oh no!
There we go.
Where did it go?
Oh, man.
Brother.
Right. Well, thank you, Cindy.
Well, you're welcome. It's not my turn next time. Somebody else can bring something, as long as it's not vegetable flavored.
Okay.
Or
that narrows it down.
flavored.
Yeah.
No mushroom.
Meat flavored it is.
Bacon might be good.
Ooh, bacon.
I bet they make it.
I bet
Just
they do.
a cup of beef
I bet
broth.
Jones does.
There you go.
Yeah.
There we go. Carbonated beef broth.
Oh, that could be done.
All right. Well, Lisa, what do we have to discuss today?
Well, so the month of November is actually known as National Model Railroad Month. And Toledo Library has been nice enough to let us set up displays in the main entrance for celebrating this month, and this is just one of the 6 libraries in the county that we have actually set up displays of model trains. We're simply trying to get people interested in the hobby and just celebrate every facet and aspect of it, because it is quite extensive. So just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the history, because I think for the regular lay person, when you think
That's me.
when you think of model trains, you either conjure up an image of a train looping around a Christmas tree, or perhaps grandfather's basement, little moldy, little dingy, and lots of trains. But there's so much more to it, and the history behind it is absolutely fascinating. So, for example, there's the conundrum: what came first, chicken or the egg? And you can actually put model trains into that. Which came first, the model train or the locomotive, the actual train? And you could argue that it was the model that came first. So just like we see with architectural models and other engineering models, before you build something large scale, you like to, make sure it's all copacetic. Mm-hmm. Like, the Zoolander, what is this? School for ants? So essentially, there is some belief that, model trains started cropping up around 1784. And it was to, understand the mechanics. They didn't move. It was purely for visualization and patenting purposes. Though the official model train came out in the 1830s, with the first actual model train set commercially available for purchase was in 1891. And when I say model train set, that's locomotive, cars, track, switches, the whole shebang.
Wow.
And so that was developed in Germany. And so just like our, locomotives history, it all was overseas. America was kind of playing catch up, and but they did so pretty quickly. Yeah. And so I don't know if you guys are familiar with the, general timeline of locomotives and steam. Nope. At all. So yeah, I mean, it actually, the railroad and steam engine actually goes back to antiquity, which is, ancient Greeks and Romans with their rutways. And a steam engine actually was developed. It didn't propel or necessarily do anything. I know I'm going to butcher the name of this. Harrison, if you want to... Alios, or which it's named after the Greek god of wind, and it was this. Basically, it was a ball that was powered by steam to just rotate, and it was actually just a temple decoration or a quote unquote wonder. Which again, imagine being an ancient Greek or Roman and walking in and basically seeing this rotating floating ball that's being propelled by heat and steam. So just kind of mind-blowing, putting yourself back there. But then, nothing really started coming about with the steam engine until the early 1800s. Patents were being developed, cylinders, pistons, and it is widely accepted that the very first locomotive was in 1801. The Puffing Devil was he was called. Ooh. It was capable of carrying 6 people and not very fast at all. It was a crawl, and pretty quickly it overheated and caught fire. So
well, it's the devil, so it's going to cause problems.
And it was known as the Puffin' Devil because apparently it just puffed like crazy, and I'm sure it was just absolutely mad to see in operation. And there were other forays, like there was a couple other, small engines that were being put to use and kind of experimented with. But realistically, it was in 1825 that we had one of the most successful passenger locomotives. And that one was capable of carrying 450 passengers at 15 miles per hour.
Wow.
That's known as... originally named the Active, but then was transitioned to Locomotion Number 1. It was built by George Stephenson and his son's company, Robert Stephenson and Company. And so that was for the Stockton and Darlington Railway in Northeast England.
That's what I was going to ask, is where at?
Yeah. So,
and you said 15 miles an hour, right?
Yes, 15 miles per hour.
I mean, think about the people back then who were doing like horse and carriage.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden they've got...
It's a good pace.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it was definitely a huge step forward in the direction of engineering these machines. Because then... in 1829, the Rainhill Trials were held.
Okay.
So this was basically a competition that was put together by the still not completed Liverpool and Manchester Railroad. And they were trying to determine which would be the best mode of conveyance for this new public rail line. So they had milestones you had to meet. So you had to be able to fit the correct gauge and travel at this amount, pull this amount of weight. And 10 locomotives, I guess you could say, were entered. One of them was the Cyclopede, which was basically a horse on a treadmill.
I love that idea. I'm curious about
The drawing was it was a laugh riot for me. I don't think it actually made the final cut because there's only 5 that eventually made the final cut. Some of them utilized vertical boilers, and at the end of the day, though, it was another Stevenson and Company locomotive. The Rocket was the winner, and basically was the beginning of the steam locomotive era, essentially, because it was in the 1830s is when we really started to see these machines starting to get developed, and patents were increasing. A really popular locomotive company, and we've got an example of the locomotive company, the Baldwin Locomotive Works, which manufactured One Spot, which is the large steam locomotive at the Railroad Museum. That company was founded back in 1825, so it was right at the forefront, and that is actually a U.S. based company. So, but yeah, so getting back to model railroading, it was kind of this parallel rise in popularity, as these steam locomotives were being built and utilized for transporting goods and people, so were people's interest in these machines, And again, the model trains existed in the engineering sense of things, for patents and, displays. In fact, I think it was Matthias Baldwin, who founded the Baldwin Locomotive Company, would build models to be then displayed in museums. So people would be able to really see his creations. And so as the interest increased, that's when we see more of a hobby aspect of the model trains. So the very first models for the model railroad hobby outside of the engineering aspect were often molds that brass was poured into, or, molten metal, and then they were detailed, but not extremely.
They were just more like a statue or something.
Exactly. And they were also the carpet railways. So essentially, you would be just pushing them along the carpet. Right. There was no mechanism for propelling them. And that quickly was replaced by clockwork.
Right. So were they developing them for kids? Like a children's toy or a children's gift?
Yeah, it was kids, and then also people were just fascinated with trains. Yeah. I mean, we've got people fascinated with cars and trucks and things like that. And so this was a whole new frontier, and these were massive machines. So I do believe a lot of the focus was on the children aspect, though. Right. I mean, what kid hasn't gone through a big truck? Yeah. Big train phase. So,
and it's a good excuse for the parents to have a model train. Exactly. To say I bought it for my kid.
Exactly. And so there's actually this company in Germany. We have a collection of the Markland brand, and just took another sip of the Faygo.
Gosh. For a moment, I forgot what it tasted like.
I mean, hey, it's helping me wake up, getting over that midday slump. So, but yeah. So, after the carpet railway, there was the clockwork engines,
right?
And so we actually have a clockwork locomotive train set on display here at the Toledo Public Library. It's the Marx Mechanical Commodore Vanderbilt, and it is just the aesthetic of it is just it's amazing. And so, yeah, these were spring activated. They had the key to twist it. And we actually see there was a functioning clockwork model railroad that was built for Emperor Napoleon III in 1859 for his 3-year-old son on the grounds of the Chateau de Saint Cloud in Paris. And so yeah, that also speaks to, for kids, but it was still a mechanical marvel,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It must have been pre-clockwork a rough time for uncles and grandpas to be like, do you want to come see my model train? And then he's just on his hands and knees pushing a pewter model along the carpet. Not really, Grandpa. I feel sorry for you.
Right.
Yeah. Self-propelled has a lot going for it.
Was a huge step forward. And yeah, it just it really caught fire, not just also in the hobby, but for safety and education purposes. In fact, there is this National Railway Museum in York, England, and it's massive. I've fortunately haven't had the opportunity to visit, but there is a model railway that dates back to 1912, and it was used and designed to train signalmen for their jobs.
Very cool.
Right? And so instead of having to risk, it's like, basically a flight simulator, essentially. Instead of risking going out in the field, you learn how to do the job. And it's all to scale. And so that's on display in York. And I guess it was in use until about 1995.
Wow. That's great.
Apparently it's massive and just beautiful to see.
Yeah. So what scale would that kind of thing be at?
I believe that was HO, which, I should have had this down. There's so many different scales. And so it's 1 inch to, however many inches. And we've got them on display here, and I do apologize. The actual ratio is slipping my mind at the moment. But it ranges. You can have Z, which is tiny. It's just absolutely fits in a walnut, essentially.
Oh, cool.
There's people who build Z scale trains in old suitcases, and they're fully sceniced out.
Very cool.
Bridges and churches all in a, carry-on suitcase.
Little miniatures.
And then, but the most common is HO, which is half O scale. And it really just depends on your preference.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to see more details, you go for a little bit bigger. If you really don't have a lot of space, you go for Z or N, and that just gives you more opportunity. But HO is definitely the most popular.
So my question kind of goes back to that one they used for training. So was it small? Or
it was. I would imagine it was probably HO, which HO is pretty good size.
Yeah. So right. Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but just when you start adding in scenic, and if you're actually recreating the rail line and the yards and stuff, that's just going to take up a lot of space. Right. So
they should make it big enough that the trainee can put their hand in there, and then if there's an accident, they have to feel it if the trains crash.
Right. But yeah, so I mean, it's based on preference, but HO has the most detail and kind of a stock in that sense. So if you're looking for a particular thing, it's more stuff is built in the HO scale. But yeah, I mean, so it just, like I said, the hobby kind of caught fire, mainly at the turn of the century, early 1900s. And so a name that might be familiar to a lot of people is Lionel trains. And that's actually a really fascinating story. So Joshua Lionel Cohen, his job was shop displays. So he would be working with, the local grocer or the, dressmaker or what have you that would have these display windows and would create these aesthetically pleasing and accurate advertisements. Well, a way that he was able to get eye-catching movement and whatnot was by building electric trains that would then transport signs and just create some movement in the window. Yeah. So, and he was very successful at that. And it wasn't until somebody inquired, how much is the train? I'm not interested about the price of apples. I want that train set. And that's when it, light bulb, that he could actually market and sell these sets. And so he got a patent in 1899. And kind of story goes from there. I mean, Lionel is a very, very popular brand. It's actually in the National Toy Hall of Fame.
Oh, I believe it, yeah.
2006 is when it was inducted into that Hall of Fame. So, and then pretty quickly after that, Model Railroader magazine came on to the scene in 1934. And I mean, you got to look at it like this. Nobody's going to create and put together a magazine for a hobby unless there is a very high demand.
Right.
And so there's also societies, model railroad societies and clubs, the oldest one being from 1910, which was also established in the UK. An American version is the NMRA, or National Model Railroad Association, and that was founded in 1935.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, the hobby just keeps growing. It just keeps expanding and evolving, and from the different scales, you know, we've got, not only do we have an example of all the different scales in the display case. On semi-permanent display here at the public library is a 7.5-inch gauge live steam locomotive. Frankly, it's model railroading on steroids. You know, it's
true.
Yeah, it's powered by propane, and it can actually transport people on tracks. And I mean, it's, again, stunning, the amount of detail that's put into this. It's all accurate, all very, very done to scale. And so, you know, there's that aspect of the hobby has just grown as well. And I mean, as technology increases, we see a advancement in the controls and the modes of power for these train sets. So going back, the very first was the push trains, carpet railways, quickly led to the clockwork. And then by 1899, we were starting to see electrical hit the scene. And that's when it starts to get a little complicated. And this is where I have to say, if you're into engineering, technology, this is going to be kind of your wheelhouse, because there's just so many different ways of utilizing it. So we've got 3-rail, 2-rail, stud contact, overhead line, and battery all fall within the electric modes of power. Trust me, I know. When I was looking into the research of this, I'm like, I am not a gearhead at all. But basically, everything but battery, the tracks themselves are electrified.
Right.
And so you are electrifying the actual track or the overhead line, which would be for like trolleys and stuff, and that's what is allowing the locomotive to go. There's a move towards the batteries because they're rechargeable, and you don't have to do the wiring, the soldering, and things like that. Although it could kind of be seen as cheating a little bit.
And sometimes that wiring, the soldering, that's part of the fun.
That's
too,
exactly.
depending on what you're in it for.
Right. I mean, I would probably choose battery because I don't know a thing about electricity, you know, hooking any of that up, and I'd probably like kill myself doing it. So, you know, batteries are safe for me.
Right. And that's why it's like some people, you know, when you're getting into this hobby, you'll see where people are, you know, maybe they have electrical engineering in their past, or they're interested in that because they will have schematics for how they wire this layout.
Right.
You know, and then you might see more of a creative telling you more about how they utilize plaster of Paris to build this mountain and how they got the weathering done just correctly on their cars, utilizing a mixture of paints or other treatments like that. And so, but yeah, there's also, when it comes to modes of power, there's live steam, which is like the 7.5-inch gauge. Ours burns propane, but you can burn wood, oil, you know, everything. You can do the whole real deal. There's even live steam in HO, which is going to be utilizing a electric heater as opposed to actually burning anything, just because it's so small. But you do have to put water in.
Yeah.
They're sometimes referred to as little dribblers because of the water that is part of it.
Right.
And then finally, there is internal combustion, which is basically an engine, like a diesel engine. So think of it, you know, like a lawnmower engine. And you're going to see that in the larger scale, the 7.5-inch gauge, the diesel running trains. And so, but I mean, this is, like I said, you know, it keeps evolving as we evolve. So it's kind of interesting to see where this is going to go, you know. And that's just talking about the modes of power. The controls themselves have also gone from a key twisting to actually utilizing computer systems.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, so the most common, and you'll hear it if you get into the model world, is DCC, which stands for Digital Command Control. Really cool thing about this is that it's precise and allows you to operate multiple locomotives at multiple speeds on the same track, as opposed to what we had before, which was AC or DC. You'd have your one track, it's electrified. You could put 2 locomotives on there, but they're going to be going the same speed.
Right.
And you'd be able to control the current and the voltage, which varies the speed of the locomotive. But again, it's going to be doing it the same for the whole track. Whereas DCC targets specific locomotives, and it's
very
fascinating.
cool.
Wow.
Absolutely fascinating. And so there's definitely a very big move towards that, because it is more the real deal, you know, like actual trains, you know. So that is also a very, very cool.
I can see that really appealing to younger people.
Yes.
You know, that are tech people who are like, this is fascinating to me that I can control this, you know, and it can be just like it is in wherever whatever I'm modeling my train after.
Exactly.
I can see that really being appealing.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, but at the end of the day, I would not be able to wire, or, you know, I would have to get a full tutorial on how this actually works. This is, you know, I have all this information from talking with experienced modelers, reading articles, and, you know, doing research. And so I still have to put the practice into play. Right. But yeah, so it's just amazing too to just know that we've gone from clockwork to computers to run these model trains, which a lot of people just look at as toys.
Right.
It's so much more. It's so much more than that. This is a hobby that encompasses so many aspects, you know, from the technological side, the electrical engineering, to, you know, the artwork, the creativity. Like some of these modelers, the way that they can model lakes and oceans, and building oak trees using Aquanet and hairspray and just random stuff you find around the house, the innovation that comes with it, and then also the historical side of things. People tend to choose an era that they will model. And so the attention to detail, you know, down to the type of axles on your locomotive, to it's just, it's a really immersive and all-encompassing hobby. And, you know.
So I'm curious to know, because we've talked about the history of it, and we're talking about steam engines and that kind of stuff. Do people model the newer trains? Like in Tokyo, those really amazing trains that they have now that are so fast? And
like the bullet trains. Yeah. No, there's definitely, you know, it's a pretty common question, steam or diesel, you know. Down at the museum, luckily we are blessed to have not only a steam locomotive, but a diesel switcher locomotive. So, you know, we have, it's usually younger kids that will be all about the diesel, all about the newer trains that they actually see running on the tracks. So when we try to start talking to them about the steam locomotive built in 1922, they're like, nope, just take me to the diesel. Let me get in that electrical cabinet. So...
Has anyone made a model? Is it the cyclopede, the horse with extra steps? I would love to see somebody
you know,
put a little...
I'm willing to bet that you could probably find a static model, you know, of that, because you'd be amazed at the little accoutrements that people have for their layouts. In fact, I was at a model railroad show, which there are a couple coming up. One in Rickrell, I believe it's December 7th. And there was a to scale Bigfoot. And you would put put Bigfoot in your forest. You know, there's people playing checkers, and goats and other animals and stuff. And so vehicles, baggage carts, and that's another aspect is the stick builds or building kits for the model railroad. So the buildings that you have on display, and it's just, again, it's a rabbit hole. It's very easy to get sucked into this.
I've known like dollhouse people. That miniature world is fascinating to certain people. I love it. I think it's really cool. And you see it so much now. You see fairy gardens and you see the fantasy stuff, but you also see model railroads and dollhouses. And I mean, it's incredible. That kind of, and I would go down that rabbit hole. Into that little tiny world.
I love the little tiny things. And the miniatures are intertwined, totally. In fact, Eugene Marklin is the German company Marklin that actually had the first model train set available in 1891. He was a miniaturist. His toy company, Marklin, produced dollhouse accessories.
Right.
So it's not a huge leap.
No.
And in fact, I believe they've been coming to a couple of the model railroad shows we attend. There is a miniaturist society. So they're not even necessarily building layouts or trains, but they're creating these little scenes, and it's just because it's the same idea of utilizing a scale and just building something to represent something larger.
Right.
So.
Right. And you see it in kids' toys. My granddaughters are big into calico critters.
Oh,
and they are so cool. And all the adults go, I love those. Those are so cool.
Yeah.
Bring out the little girl in me,
I've been seeing a lot of those little blind pack toys are miniature versions of things.
Yeah.
My daughter's got a stack of 20s. Like a miniature, and it's kind of like a Barbie or G.I. Joe scale stack of $20 bills bound, and they're individual bills, and they look, they're incredibly detailed, and it is just sort of mesmerizing seeing something that small rendered in that much detail.
I mean, even Lego has miniatures, Lego minifigures, and building those miniature worlds out of Lego. That's very interesting.
There's also Lego Railroad too.
I bet there is.
It's
and
an L
that
gauge.
Would be cool.
Yeah, we one of our volunteers, he actually has a couple of Lego train kits and whatnot. It can get a bit muddy when you get into the scale of things, but they just have a really cool look to them.
Yeah, we have the Hogwarts train Lego thing at our house that's set up somewhere. I don't know where, but it's set up, and it's very cool to see those things. I think it's fascinating, and that kind of leads me into the next thing. Tell us about the museum, because I'm not familiar with it.
Of course. Yeah, no, the museum is fabulous. I mean, I may be a bit biased, but it is a really, really unique place to visit. So first, I'll just start off. It's free admission. Nice. So you feel free to come in and cruise around. We get lots of repeat kids that, because we're very touch friendly. We're very kid friendly. We get lots of repeat local kids that like to go sit in the diesel locomotive and throw the switches, move the levers. We've got a ladder in the caboose that you can climb up in. So yeah, it's, come all the time. It helps us with our visitor count. But yeah, our museum is located behind the Toledo Post Office. I believe the actual physical address is 100 Northwest A Street, but really just look for the big locomotive out front. We're currently a bit under construction right now.
Right.
We're doing a ramp project to make it more accessible, meet ADA standards, so we're really, really excited about that. That's funded by Travel Oregon, which thank you for the grant funds on that. But yeah, normally we're open Tuesday through Saturday, all year round. So 10 to 2. And then in the summer, we extend 10 to 4.
Nice.
And so we offer tours. I'm usually on site 5 days a week, but we do have some amazingly talented and very, very friendly docents that would be more than happy to give tours. We all have kind of different spiels, I guess you could say. So our museum consists of the 2 locomotives, the 1922 Baldwin steam locomotive and a 1951 General Electric built diesel switcher locomotive that was actually utilized over at the Georgia Pacific Mill. I mean, technically both of the locomotives were utilized at the GP Mill here in town. And then The majority of our museum is housed in a 1907 woodside caboose and a 1923 railway post office car. And so our museum's not only the cars themselves, but the interior of. So you can go into the cars. We got lots of cool pictures and artifacts on display. The history of the caboose is fascinating. You don't really see them anymore. And so we talk about, what happened to them, the role that they played. And for me, my favorite is the railway post office car. Not many people are aware of the importance they played in our mail system. I mean, my public school education, when it came to mail history, it was Pony Express. Know, at the end of the day, that's a blip. A blip on the timeline. Basically, starting in the 1830s when locomotives started showing up and we started utilizing them. That's when we were transporting our mail by rail, and they were in use until I believe it was like the 1960s or so.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. It's like stepping back into the past. Our restoration team did amazing work, and this organization is a 501c3. So it's 99.99999% volunteer ran, and there's so many different ways to volunteer. If you like talking with people and interacting with the public, come be a docent. You don't have to know everything right away. I mean, I started out with note cards. We've got a research library that we are in desperate need of, some organization in. We also have construction projects going on and other aspects that if you want to, get involved, you're more than welcome to. And so it's a pretty neat museum. You definitely got to come down and visit us.
Yeah, I'm planning to do that. Yeah. And so do you have something going on for the holidays?
We do. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So we have an annual model Christmas show, which is taking place in the Portland and Western Depot building. And I know nobody really knows where that is.
I don't know where that is.
So it's near the post office, next to the railroad tracks. The physical address is 160 Northwest 1st Street. We'll have lights and flags, and there'll be cars parked in front. So this is also a free event. We'll be running several different scales of model trains, playing Christmas music and just playing around. And that's going to be on the 21st and the 22nd from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. So, after you're all done at the library on the 21st, make sure you swing on by and check out some cool trains. We'll also be selling some used items and, like I said, just playing with trains and having fun.
Nice.
So we're looking forward to it.
I'm excited to come and see that. And then we did talk. We haven't put it firmly on the calendar, but it is on the calendar to have an event here at the library, kind of a learning model railroad 101.
Exactly.
For people who are new to it or who are just dipping their toes in or just interested. We're going to have Alan, right?
Yeah, Alan Holzapfel. He is our board president of the nonprofit.
And Lisa will come, and we will have...
we're probably going to get some other folks.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a group effort for sure.
Just to come and talk about it and tell you how you can get really get involved in nuts and bolts and, and you might make a tree. Yeah.
Well, we're going to definitely try to get some sort of takeaway.
Yeah, because that would be really fun to get people started. And
we have a member who he... they call them, instead of classes, they tend to call them clinics. And he has developed this one for the oak tree utilizing household products. So
very cool.
I still got to give him a call, but I know that he loves to share and stuff. And so
I'm hoping we can do that with all the bells and whistles. And then we're planning it in early February because there is a show, you told me, in Eugene.
Yes.
And that's a big deal to model railroaders.
It's a 2-day model railroad show. It's at the Lane County Fairgrounds. I want to say it's February 15 and 16.
I think we decided it was that weekend.
Yeah. And it's the Willamette Cascade Model Railroad Club, and it's big. There's lots of people selling items, usually at a fairly good price. There'll also be trains running and whatnot. So people will bring their kids that just want to watch the trains. Yeah. You're supporting a great club. And we'll be there promoting our museum and having fun, being part of the party.
That's great.
So
that's awesome. I'm excited to get together and learn something new.
Oh yeah. And that's why it's even if you have no interest in the electrical engineering side, there's still so much to explore in this hobby. It's not just one thing. And again, I know it seems like it can be a bunch of the older guys that kind of dominate this hobby, but it is one of the most welcoming and, sharing, and there's no gatekeeping or anything like that. Yeah. So it's, everybody's excited when you see a younger person dipping their toes, and that's one of my favorite things about it. Mm-hmm. So
very good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So much information. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to the Christmas thing and to learning more about it. I'm thankful I learned about the history because I've lived in Toledo for a while, but I never really delved into the history of our town. And it seems like the railroad
played a very significant
large
part of that. Mm-hmm. But then also there's the Toledo History Center. I got to plug them too.
Oh, yes,
they are
do that.
Another fabulous free museum here in town, all volunteer ran. Mm-hmm. They've got old school desks. They've got an old switchboard, old pharmacy items from back when we were the county seat.
Wow.
It's the history is way cool, and definitely recommend checking out their collection as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which they're located on Main Street at the north side near the Crow's Nest Gallery.
All right. All right. So people got places to visit when they come.
There we go. Yeah.
And they're free.
And they're totally free.
And if it's raining outside, bring your children.
Bring your children. I'm not 100% sure about the History Center, but the Railroad Museum is dog friendly, pet friendly. So awesome. History Center, I think it kind of depends on, because they've got a little bit more stuff on the floor that's potentially breakable.
My dog likes to eat antiques.
Oh, there you go. But don't bring your dog.
Yeah. Maybe leave the puppers
But the Railroad
at home.
Museum for sure is kid friendly.
Oh, yeah.
And so
kid friendly, dog friendly, That's why, you can come in, do your own thing. You can also come in and ask for a tour.
Yeah.
So we're there to please.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, this has been great. And, I kind of want to build something now.
Yeah, definitely. And, if anybody's interested in exploring and getting, can't wait until February and I really want to jump in, come down to the Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society, and we can get you set up with some of our volunteer docents who are really big hobbyists and have been doing it for quite a while. And trust me, you won't have any other stupid questions like I do, because I was starting from the basic, and they have been nothing but kind to me. So
they're so great. That's great.
All right. Well, thank you, and we will talk to you all next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. The Free Bin is a production of the Toledo Public Library, which is part of the Lincoln County Library District in beautiful Lincoln County, Oregon. Writing by Harrison Baker, Cindy Balek, and Denise Marsh. Original music and editing by Harrison Baker. That's me. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of any organizations they represent. Good night.